Good afternoon, greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. Stacey Mitchell is on the Schuylkill. Big surprise. And we've got Gabe behind the camera as always. And again, we all work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we're here to talk about real estate today. So the first story we got, Sarah, and we'll see if Stacey comes in and can chime in, is that the Federal Reserve released a report last week that inflation and home price growth is headed downward. Is this another headline? Is there any truth to this? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. It's an attention-grabbing headline. I do think that there is a little bit of truth to some of it. Although I think that as they went through the article, not all of this is exactly relevant to our exact area here in Philly. It talked about really a lot of like the West Coast, but across the whole nation, we are going to be looking at a little bit of a different market.
Well, I think that's very clear that the market is shifting. I don't think there's any question about that. And this comes from the State of New York Federal Reserve. It's a survey they run. It's a survey of consumer expectations. And when you read through it, they talk about things like they project home price growth to decline sharply. And I think the key word there is growth. It's not home prices. It's the growth, because we're seeing 10% year over year appreciation the past couple years. Looks like it's going to be more like 3 to 5% as we move forward. The more interesting thing I saw was about inflation. And if they're going to see inflation decline, I'm clear that could be a big win for consumers, and that might cause the housing market to actually do a little better. But I don't see prices declining. Everyone keeps talking about this and that there's a bubble bursting and all these different things. I don't see any data that tells me prices are going down. It sounds like things are going to slow down. The appreciation is going to come into more of a normal range. So, I mean, what's your take on that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that if you just read the bold print at the top, it seems scarier than what it is. We have seen in the last several years the amount of appreciation that people have been getting double, triple what is a normal market. So when it comes back down to a normal market, which is still a good market, and you look at those numbers, even just when they're talking about this sharp decline. Well, yeah, a decline from like plus appreciation.
Yeah, exactly.
Still above, still everything going steady. I think that if they're able to tamper inflation down a bit, that's a win for everybody. Although it does look like they may, as we've talked about in some of these Fed meetings and rate hikes, I think they are going to continue to do those. So good for bringing inflation down. Rates, always something we have to keep an eye on.
Well, and the one really tool that the Fed has to keep inflation down is increasing rates. They've always historically done that. And so when you see all this, I mean, to me, I think, inflation is a real thing. I mean, there was like 4th of July barbecue prices were up, like groceries cost more, gas costs more. And a lot of people feel that a lot more than the housing payment, because in a lot of cases, they're getting a bigger house for a payment than they would have even 5-10 years ago. And when you look at this data that they quote here, it comes from Black Knight. So from April through July, they're quoting all these West Coast towns where, and they're talking about tappable equity. So to me, that is funny money. Like, it's not real, because it's not money that's going up or down. And what we've seen is that those peak prices, they're just not quite there. It doesn't mean homes aren't appreciating. It's that tappable equity, which, when you start talking about tappable equity, that's a tongue twister there. That's exactly where people got in trouble in 2008, because they were tapping all the equity in their home and buying like big screen TVs and putting on additions and doing these things that weren't sustainable. So that's where I get a little nervous reading this. But the fact that they're talking about inflation coming down, I hope that's the case. What I don't agree with is that we're going to see prices come down. We're going to see the rate of appreciation slow.
Correct. I would completely agree with that.
What do you think, Stacey? You just got here from the jaws of the Schuylkill Expressway.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, sometimes it's so fun. I think you guys are totally spot on. I don't think that we're going to see a decrease in the pricing, the house pricing, the price points. you do see in the market now, there's homes that are on for a little bit longer. They're not going under contract as quickly. Those you might be able to, that's where we find the opportunity. But as each home continues to sell at those prices, the higher prices, they become comps. So the price points are not going to decrease.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people think. And it is the markets out west that are showing the steepest decline here. And that's a very different market than we have here.
Well, it's funny you mention that because even in the 2008 depression, and I'm a big believer in calling that a depression, not a recession, we saw all these foreclosures. That was a big issue, which we haven't really seen a lot of here. And they were in places like California, Nevada, Arizona, Florida, and Ohio. Those were the 5 states that had the most foreclosures out of anywhere. So when I hear that and I look at these numbers and then I pull up what actually happened in our marketplace. So let's just look at Chester County, for example. Chester County through the month of August, so we just got the August data here, the median home sale price compared to last year is up 9.5%. Now, it's down from July. So, yeah, maybe the market did kind of peak. And I would argue that it really did. And this is a little lagged because once we got into July, we saw activity really drop from like showings and offers written. I think that's just from working in the market. So the median price is down from July. It's still up year over year. So it looks like if the market really peaked, I mean, I see it as like April, May, June is when we saw that the most activity because everything's lagged about 30 to 90 days on these sales because that's when they close. So that's Chester County. I'll pull up the other stats here, but seeing that, and I'll give you the other numbers in a second. How are you explaining this to consumers? Because I guarantee you are all working with buyers and sellers that say, I saw the Goldman Sachs report. I saw the Fed report. What's going to happen, Stacey? What's going to happen, Sarah? How are you explaining this to sellers and buyers in those situations?
Yeah, I mean, I think to both of them, we just presenting them with what's going on. I mean, I guess first finding out where they're getting their information from. Now, if they're specifically citing these articles, and it's great to have an informed individual, an informed client, whether it be a buyer or a seller. But kind of getting whatever it is that they're reading and bringing it back to what's going on in our local market. What are the numbers showing for what is currently going on here? And what is your motivation to buy or to sell? And I think just kind of bringing it into, because ultimately, like, it's great to have all the national numbers, but what matters is what's going on right here in our market.
And that's true. Yes, that's the most important thing because real estate is local. So we have to explain and provide all the data about what's actually happening in our market. And I think it's really important to do that because there's so many headlines out there and clickbait and all this other stuff on social media that you're going to see that it's either totally patently incorrect or it's, you have to dig through the article to actually get to the meat of it because they have like this, inflammatory headline. The market is going to crash. And then, but you go and dig deeper into the details of the article. And it says, well, no, it's not really, but these are the changes that are happening. So you really have to find out where the buyers are finding out their information. Where are you hearing this? Where are you reading this? And then just enlighten them to what actually is going on in our local market.
Right. I think like giving them like the broad, of like in general in our whole area what's going on, as well as like for both the buyers and sellers, the comps really go a long way because with the comps you can dig deeper than just like, oh, this went for this price. We can pull back and say, how many days was it on market? Did it close for more or less than what they were asking for? Were there any concessions given? All right, this happened.
Were there contingencies?
Right. This happened in the last however many days. Now let's go back a little bit further to give you a broader base. Like this is what happened 5 months ago in this same neighborhood, and really just showing them like at all of these different points, there were always for that like consumer index for, is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? Those numbers are always, they move around. You can't see what I'm doing here with my hand, but,
we're live casting. That's not true.
Good. All right. Yay. So, you can go back and show them like people thought these things this many months ago and look what happened with these numbers. This is what they're thinking now. Look what's currently going on. So just kind of like pulling them into this data is real.
Right.
Well, that's a great point because, and I'll give you the year-over-year numbers for Delaware, Montgomery, and Philadelphia in a second. So CoreLogic, one of the big predictors out there, so they made predictions. Their forecast we would only see a 3.8% change in pricing nationally. They were wrong. It was 15.8% through the month of July. So that this is a company that their only job is to predict things and tell us what's going on with the economy. So just because we're hearing this stuff doesn't mean it's right, and that's a legitimate source that's doing that. So to gain some further perspective, year over year through the month of August, we've seen a 10.3% increase in Delaware County in median home sale prices, an 8.1% increase from Montgomery County, and a 1.9% increase in the city of Philadelphia, which that's been the story all along, that Philadelphia is a little bit of a different market than the suburban markets for a lot of reasons. So seeing all that and knowing how wrong CoreLogic was, and look, everybody gets these things wrong. I don't think that's the issue. You have to really be careful reading this information, and that's exactly what I hope they're right about inflation here with this Federal Reserve Bank of New York report with their survey of consumer expectations. I hope that is correct. But like Goldman Sachs said the same thing last week. They came out with an article that said Americans are deeply pessimistic about the market. I do believe that because I think a lot of people are pessimistic about the market. Doesn't mean it's right. And what came out is that in the Goldman Sachs report, they're saying prices have started to drop. They're predicting the prices are going to continue to drop, and they're looking at the slowdown in home price appreciation. But we'd have to see consecutive months of that for it to get back to even a normal number right now, and that's what no one's talking about. They're just grabbing a stat, making a story out of it, and then all of a sudden, the world's ending and no one's buying houses anymore, which we know isn't the case.
Right. And I think a lot of the pessimism comes from the interest rates going higher and higher. Because actually, more people that were polled or surveyed, whatever, think it's actually a better time to buy than it was previously.
Right.
So it's in the numbers, you know, but I think they're very pessimistic about the interest rates. Well, of course,
right.
Because we were at very historic lows, in the high 2s, 3s, and I don't think that's ever coming back anytime soon.
Right. But even when that was going on, I would still say there was pessimism in the market. You know what I mean? Like there's always some degree of that, no matter what
because
is
of the
going
prices
on.
going up. And yes, right.
So I guess the takeaway here is that inflation, hopefully that does head downward. Price growth, the rate is slowing. That's the story here. It's not that home prices are going down, and we got to be really careful how we explain all these things. So for a home seller that's saying I'm nervous now, or I see that home price growth is slowing, or what advice do you have for the seller? We always talk about the buyers with this stuff, but what are we telling sellers right now?
That yes, these changes are definitely going on in the market, but it doesn't mean that people are not buying. Right. We just have to be realistic with the price point. We look at our competition, what is active on the market around you, what's pending, and what has closed recently. And it is a little different market. So you have to find out where the sellers are as far as their expectations on the price point.
Yeah.
And depending on where that number is, you can guide them in a better direction. Or if you think that that's, an appropriate number for the market, then that's where it should land. But I just had this conversation over the weekend, and the seller was very realistic with her expectations. So I believe that even based because the Zestimate was a little bit higher than what she was comfortable listing the home with. So kudos to her for being realistic, because her strategy was she didn't want the house to sit and then have to do a price adjustment.
Right.
So I think just being honest and open, providing all the data, find out where the sellers are with their expectations, and then adjust from there.
Right. And I think that all we can do is, we talk a lot about, a good agent will kind of tell you what you want to hear, and a great one will tell you what you need to hear. I know that's something that's, we talk about a lot, that you have to give your clients what's going on. We're not the ones that are changing different, what's going on in the market. It's providing them with the best information for what is currently going on at the time, and, trying to guide them to what they need to do to get either the number they need to hit, the timeline they need to hit, and show them the data, show them what's going on.
Well, and a good way to explain this to people, I heard this the other day, is that this isn't Black Friday shopping anymore, where people
Right.
are literally stampeding each other for an Xbox, and that's what was happening with homes. I don't think it's actually that far off of a comparison. This is like a normal shopping period, and normal is the key word here because there was a frenzy and demand was heavy and rates were really low, so it accelerated the frenzy. It accelerated the demand even more than what we saw because leading up to this, before rates dropped pre-pandemic, the market was moving at a brisk pace. 2019 was a pretty great time to sell a home, and there was a lot of good things happening there. So to get some perspective on what's actually happening, I think look at this. Black Friday's over in the real estate market, and now we're able to shop at a regular pace. And I think it's going to actually help people understand things a lot more than us talking about like rate of appreciation and all these other things, because no one wants to hear the real estate jargon. They want to hear what's actually happening so they can understand it and make a good decision for their household.
Yeah. I agree.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about an article on Inman about why past clients go with another agent, and something I put together on Broke Agent Media that I think explains it further. This is Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
For the best local mortgage service and great rates on your money, look no further than Mortgage America. We've been operating in the greater Philadelphia area for 40 years with a focus on smooth, easy access to home purchasing. Whether you're a first-time buyer, upsizing or downsizing, or just refinancing, we have programs for you. We also have closing cost assistance programs and access to subsidized interest rates. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. To learn more, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000. We always have a person available to take your call with around-the-clock human service. Purchase your home with the personalized local service you find at Mortgage America.
Mortgage America is an equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
The Tom Toole Sales Group is the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania with over $165 million in volume for 2021. I'm Tom Toole, and our team has achieved that kind of success by being a great place to work with and to work for. No one knows Greater Philly better than we do. We know real estate, but more importantly, we're real people. We hire the best agents, and we give them all the tools to succeed. Even our brand new agents sell 17 to 24 homes a year because our team delivers the best experience in real estate. Teams deliver a better experience than individuals, and we're a top 1% real estate team in the country. We call it AAA service. We're your advocate, ally, and advisor. Because this isn't a transaction to us. It's a relationship. If you're buying or selling a home, call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Sell your home for more, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliances Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
Welcome back to Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. She's Sarah Tymon. We've got Gabe behind the camera, and we all work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are streaming live every week on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Just look up Tom Toole Sales Group. So, a couple different articles about agent business here, and I find these really important because we're in this different climate now. And the first question I'll ask both of you here is it different winning clients now than it was even 6-8 months ago? What's the process like? How are you looking at trying to convert people and get them to work with you?
I don't think I've changed very much.
So what did you do? Because I would argue you probably do it the right way in the first place than just showing up at the house and letting them buy it, which is what a lot of people did.
I always prep for my appointments with the buyers. So, I confirm, I reach out, I speak to them on the phone, get to know them a little bit. try to find out their motivation and exactly what they're looking for. Provide them with the seller's disclosure before we even meet. So I'll email that to them and print up a few cost sheets at different price points. So this way their expectations are going to be in check. And then after the meeting, I always follow up. We always set either another appointment or I set them up in the portal with automatic searches. But it's a constant connection with them.
Yeah. I mean, I think, making sure that you're prepped for the appointment is pretty huge. And I mean, you want to be it's funny because you want to be flexible too. And if another home, let's say you're getting ready to go out to, show them 2 or 3 different places that you've looked at all the disclosures, you've prepped on the history of the, sales prices for the home previously. And you've got all of it lined up. And then another one pops up in that area that you have to add in. So you want to be accommodating. You're already out that way. You want to take them, but it's always if you didn't have enough time to be as detailed as the other ones, because it's not a good feeling when you don't know the history of the home or you're not able to answer some questions. Now, there's always going to be situations where there could be questions that you're going to have to find out about, but I'd say prepping and then exactly like Stacey said, follow up is very important.
So I'm glad to hear about the prep that everyone's doing here because not enough people prep for appointments. I think that's a real issue that people just show up. They think it's going to happen. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to say it. They don't know how to handle the objections. The flip side of that is that what happens after the transaction. So there was an article on Inman that talks about 15 reasons past clients use another agent. And then I put together something on Broke Agent Media about a stat that's out there, according to the Harvard Business Review, that 48% of salespeople are afraid to make phone calls, which I think you probably got into the wrong business if you don't want to call people on the phone. I don't know what you two think, but so let's talk about these 15 reasons. I want to see if you think they're legit or not. And to me, they go hand in hand because a lot of reasons, I would argue the number one reason why your past clients don't use you is because you don't keep in touch with them. Any disagreement there? So let's see if this article, this was written by Teresa Boardman. She is out in Minneapolis, St. Paul, same thing, right? That's the city next to it. I've never been there. So number one, circumstances have changed for the client. They believe they need a new agent to meet their needs. For example, they're going from a starter home to luxury real estate. If you were keeping in touch, do you think that's valid?
No.
I agree. If you're keeping in touch, they're not going to call anybody else, and they're going to look at you as their advocate.
Right.
Number two, the client's mother, brother, wife, uncle, or best friend got a real estate license and needs the business. If you were keeping in touch, would that be a legitimate reason?
Well, I could see somebody using that as, they are guilted into, using this person, a family member, friend, whatever, as their agent. But honestly, you probably don't want to use a family member or someone who's brand new in the business to handle, your biggest financial transaction, especially if you're selling and then buying, if you're doing a couple transactions in one. So I don't think that this would be an issue if you're keeping in touch.
I would say, for what makes the most sense, I completely agree with Stacey. And I think the further you go out on that kind of web of people, the less valid that is. But if your spouse just got,
I agree with that.
I think that there are certain ones that are very, whether or not that's the right move and in their best interest, depending on how tight to that person they are, that can be a tricky one to get around.
I agree with Sarah on this, that if it's a wife or a brother and you got a really good relationship with them, but then if it's your second cousin 3 times removed, which those people will try to weasel their way in. That one can be more of a condition than others. So I think that's legit based on the relationship.
Right.
Number 3, this one's interesting. The home buyer or seller is being strategic. They wish to form a relationship with another agent for some reason. It has nothing to do with performance. For example, the agent may be the wife of one of the buyer's bosses or maybe someone who just joined the church.
Kind of like the previous one, a person that a friend. What's being strategic about it, though? It would be just the client is referred to somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just trying to get in good graces of, I used you,
This
Got
one
it.
can be overcome if your skills are right. And that's how I would handle that. So it'd say like, hey, do you know that agent? What have they done? Let me look up their sales numbers. That one you can beat. The second one I think is a little tougher.
Yeah.
The agent may be the wife of the buyer's bosses. I don't know how that.
I don't agree with that at all. I
Okay.
think this is easy to overcome. Is my
Yeah.
point. It's just
Yes.
you need to have the skill to do it, and that's
Correct.
an objection handler and a tough conversation.
Yes.
Unless if you can weasel in and with the
Right.
buyer's financial and be like, your husband needs to pay me more so
Yeah,
we can afford
maybe.
the
I don't
bigger
know.
house. No, just kidding.
I mean, maybe that's their strategy. I don't know. So, all right. So we're 1 out of 3 here. There are people who buy and sell real estate often and work with several real estate agents for reasons known only to them.
I mean, I know that there are, like, I feel like a lot of investor clients and stuff out there maybe have different people they use for different things. I get it if it's like, if they buy in different areas, you know, like obviously different states or different areas that you're not licensed. But I feel like that should be something you should be able to overcome by both doing a good job with the transaction that you're currently working on with them and keeping the conversation open to what else are you looking for? Let me get some more stuff in front of you. And like if it's somebody that's going to be repeat buying, making sure to stay on their radar and you provide them the info so that they go to you.
Yeah, I have to agree. Unless it's someone who's, if it's an investor that's purchasing commercial real estate or
Right.
things that we don't specialize in, yeah. But if it's just for residential real estate, definitely that can be overcome.
If it's an investor, I probably wouldn't want to work with them, number one, because they are notorious for running around with different agents and they have no loyalty. So to me, I think it's you probably caught a transaction at the right time and that person's not necessarily, there's not a relationship there if that happens.
Right.
So I don't even know if I wouldn't even call them a past client. I think it's just a client you worked with almost. All right, this one is interesting. Sometimes home buyers want to see a house on Tuesday, but their agent is out of town, so they choose another agent. They end up working with that agent to buy the house. I would argue they're not your client at that point if that's what's going on, or you've got to look at yourself in the mirror and determine how you're covering when you're away.
Right.
That's just a business fail. So I don't think that's a reason to work with somebody else. I think that's a bad business move.
Right. If you were keeping in touch with them, you would know that they were going to be looking at houses and you would get the coverage.
They wouldn't be surprised you're out of town on Tuesday because you would
Right.
have communicated it like a professional.
Right.
Okay. Homeowner number 6. Homeowner was impressed with another agent's flyers.
Well, that's just marketing materials. So I think this one could be totally overcome.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm impressed with some people's marketing materials too. I think it's fabulous. It's great. But what service do you bring? What value are you bringing to your clients? If you're keeping up with your clients and you're keeping in constant contact with them,
Right.
that's what they need, not, nice, pretty flyers.
Right. Right.
So if you're keeping in touch, that one can be beat. And I
Yes.
think that there's a point to this here.
And I think if you did a good job, I think all this also would stem back to how did your initial transaction go with this
Yes.
client? You know,
Right. Absolutely.
All right. The next one. The buyer never thought to bring his or her agent to an auction, new construction, or share sale, or asking for help buying an investment property.
I think that's a communication issue.
Mhm.
So if you're communicating with your clients, they would already know that for any new construction, if they're out on the weekend looking at new construction, to please, when you go into the office and they ask, and they always ask, are you working with an agent? Make sure you let them know that you are.
Mhm.
That way you're going to have your representation. So you will be represented. And same with the other thing. If they're looking for investments, I have this, clients already that say they want to get into investment properties. They know I'm staying on top of them with this. They know that I will represent them.
Right.
Totally agree. And you got to instruct people how to handle new construction. I think that's an important point if people are thinking about that, is make sure you register me, make sure you let them know we're working together, because that's a communication issue to your point. Okay. The buyer believed that if he or she worked with the listing agent, it would be easier to buy the home with less competition.
Well, I think that's a communication thing. That's something that you need to explain to them at your initial conversations. So yeah, I don't think that one should happen.
Yeah, it's definitely communication. The listing agent is representing the sellers 100%. They have their best interest at the moment. So you definitely don't want to be working, you don't want that dual agent.
Right.
You want your own representation. So, and again, that should be explained at the initial consult.
Right.
That's why you got to stick to the process and communicate appropriately with these people. So far, we're 1 for 8 here, is by my tally. So obviously, you can tell we're not fans of this article here. The buyer, who is now a seller, got married, and they used the wife's agent because he is her cousin. I mean, that's kind of like the first one or the second one.
Right.
So that's a duplicate. So we'll still go
Yeah.
1 for 8. Homeowners have decided they want to sell it themselves, maybe because their agent made it look easy.
Yeah. Well, it again takes a conversation to explain exactly, what we do, what our marketing process is, and how we're actually going to make them more money than a FSBO.
Right.
If you do, it's proven on the MLS.
Right.
It's what, a 16%, 17%? Yeah. So the homeowners don't want to leave 17%, off the table. You want to have that extra 17% of dollars in your pocket.
Right, exactly. And I think asking them the questions there, well, how do you plan on marketing the property? And, how do you plan on reviewing paperwork? And are you how familiar are you with this contract and what all of it means? Because it's a lot more than just looking at that price that somebody's offering you. There's a lot more details that go into it.
How will you handle inspections?
Right.
How will you handle use and occupancy?
Exactly.
What if there's an issue? You're going to negotiate on your behalf?
Yeah.
It's tough.
Right. And I mean, I wouldn't blame, if you're not in this and doing this and seeing all of these steps, that's, I feel like, perfectly fine for the seller to have the thought initially of oh, well, I'll just sell it. And then, but providing them what all goes into it.
We make it look easy.
Right.
But it's not.
It's not.
Not everyone makes it look easy. We do. I agree
We
with
do.
that. And 71% of for sale by owners list in 62 days or less. So I've seen that happen before to some folks. They do think it's easy. I don't agree that that's a reason someone should not work with you because, again, this comes down to communication and communicating value. So we got a couple more here. Let's go through this quickly just in the interest of time. So client thought the agent might be too busy and didn't want to bother him or her.
Oh, my.
I think it's lack of follow-up again.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
right,
all this
Right.
is.
Yeah.
And I think just expressing that you want business.
Yeah. It's I'm here. You
Yeah.
just call me anytime if you need anything at all.
Right.
It's expressed over and over to my clients.
Right.
Number 12, you did a good job, but the clients didn't like you. They thought you were too blank. Fill in the blank.
I mean, that might.
So this is a piece of business I wouldn't want if the clients didn't like me and they were too abrasive.
Right.
I've had this happen before where I do a great job and no matter what happened, everything was wrong. They weren't happy about it and we still got the home sold and got them a great price. Or we helped them buy a home and they just were people that I didn't want to deal with.
Yeah.
And to me, that's where it's when you lead generate, you don't have to tolerate. So sometimes you're so deep, it's I want to finish the job here, but I
Right.
wouldn't want to work with you again. And that's when you get to a place like that in your business, you're doing well.
Yeah.
You can't please everyone all
Right.
the time.
Right.
Okay, these next couple are good. They found out that you don't vote the same as they do, or that you go to a different church, or that you don't go to church at all.
Wow. That could be one of those condition things. You can't change people's
Right.
minds.
I've had people ask me
sometimes.
who I voted for in the elections before at listing
Wow.
appointments.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, I'm not going to tell you, and then just move on. And
Right.
I mean, sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't.
I would say Mickey Mouse or something like that.
All right, so that one's nonsense. You support a charity they are against and do not want any of their hard-earned money going to the charity. This happened to me once when a client saw me at a fundraising event. I mean, at this point, I think you're dealing with crazy people. I don't think it
Yeah.
has anything to do with you.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, here's the last one, then we'll talk about the stat here. So when there are many agents capable of doing a good job, the client may not see any advantage with working with the same agent again. So again, I think this is the same thing we said the entire time. If you are communicating with your clients, almost all of these are not going to happen. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 legit ones, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Yep. I
I'd agree.
agree.
All right, so that leads me to this stat, the Harvard Business Review stat. 48% of salespeople are afraid to make phone calls. Do you think that plays into this?
Yes, 100%.
Tell us more.
Yeah, if you're afraid to make phone calls, you're not going to pick up the phone and reach out to past clients.
Right.
It's if you have a difficult time doing that with new clients, but
Right.
you have to keep in touch with your past clients. They want to hear from you for the most part.
Right. Right.
And, because they're excited. I know, my personal take on it is whenever I reach out to past clients, we have that common bond of the house.
Mhm.
So, and we can catch up on things and what changes did they make? What have they done? And most of the time, people are really excited to share information, what
Right.
happened.
Yeah.
So it's typically a very positive, fun call, and it's just it's a feel good call. So you shouldn't be afraid.
Right.
So how do you get over that fear? I mean, I think it's attributed to either people are just afraid of getting a no. Well, there's probably three things. Afraid of getting a no, they're afraid of sounding like a salesperson, or they just don't want to do the work. The last one, I don't know what to tell people, but the first two, what about the fear of no and the fear of sounding like a salesperson? What would you say to that agent that runs into that? Because we've seen that there's a very low percentage of people that actually use their same agent again the second time after they go through a happy transaction. So it's a real issue in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say if you're afraid of the no, you need to understand that you're gonna get a lot of no's before you get a yes, and each no is one more no that could get you to the next yes. And you just have to have a little bit thicker skin and know that it's part of the game, and it's not all. You don't have to take everything super personally.
Right. Don't take it personally. You're going to get no's everywhere. Life is full of no's. I mean, it is, not
Right.
just in your job.
Right.
So it's okay, though.
Yeah.
It's okay to get the no's and to fail. People are afraid of that, but it really just, it builds you up and it makes you stronger, honestly. But as far as, what was the other point?
Salesy.
Oh, salesy. Yeah.
I've got a
don't-
take on this. So
Okay.
people think like sales is like this dishonorable profession, like it's bad to be a salesperson, and I could not disagree more. I mean, people want to be sold. Like they want, like when they come in and talk to us, they want to buy a house.
Yeah.
They want to transact. Like
Right.
at least for the most part. I mean, some people don't, but they want to. They have some sort of intent there, and it's an honorable profession. And instead of like being afraid of sounding too salesy, and people said that to me too. They're like, "Oh, you sound too salesy," and I say, "You know what? I'm selling more real estate than you are, so it looks like it's working."
Yeah.
And I'm being very serious there. I
Right.
think it's people. You've got to act the part sometimes, and sales is an honorable profession. I mean, think about the people that have like fed their family, or even there's other jobs where you have to be a little salesy or sound like a salesperson. So to me, when you don't sound like a salesperson, you're probably not asking the right questions and spinning your wheels a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yep. Yeah, I don't know what that means coming off too salesy. Like, is that it being aggressive? But if you're reaching out to past clients and you're coming across as a genuine, hey, how you doing?
A
kind
real
of thing,
person.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not salesy at all.
Right.
Right. Give it a try.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like come from a good place. And like, yes, like a lot of these check-ins are because you do want to like keep in touch and you want to get future transactions, but also just, going in with not always expecting something or expecting something immediately. Just staying in touch with people.
And that's really what it's all about. And people that say they don't want to sound too salesy, I mean, if you look at the numbers, this comes from the Harvard Business Review. The people who have trouble meeting their goals or hitting their sales quota, it's because they're not making enough phone calls. It's literally like they're not making enough phone calls or they're not going on enough appointments. So it's either a skill or an activity issue. So all this stuff here, I mean, this article, I think it's that article on Inman, it sounds like these are 15 excuses why I've lost business and I should have kept better in touch with my clients.
Exactly.
I'm being a little bit of a hater here, and the reason I am is because it's all to me. This all can be overcome. I don't think there's any question.
Yep. I agree.
So sorry, Inman, we didn't like the article. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back next. It is Realtor Safety Month, so we're going to talk about some safety precautions. We've done some safety training. I thought that'd be really interesting to chat about here as well because there's a lot more danger out there than you think in the real estate world, unfortunately. So this is Tool Time, Real Estate Radio on WWDB, 860 AM. We'll be right back.
You shouldn't have to deal with all the red tape when getting your mortgage from a big or online bank. At Mortgage America, we have access to big bank money, but with the personalized and detailed service of a local bank. We are here in your community and ready to serve with fast settlements, low down payment options, and first-time homebuyer programs. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. For more information, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000.
Mortgage America is equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
Buying a home or already own one? We can help. I am Kevin Hamill from Alliances Insurance Agency. If you haven't reviewed your policies in the last 3 years, now's the time. New home buyers, there are a number of ways that we can help you get to that settlement table. Call us to find out more at 610-816-0043, extension 3, or visit our website, alliancesinsurance.com. Don't forget the S, it's for savings.
I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line. If you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021, making us the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally. Our agents love us because we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture. Agents who've been with us for at least a year average 30-plus sales. Even our brand new agents average 17 to 24 sales a year. We offer proven systems and expert training. We help you set more appointments and sell more houses. Now here's the offer. If you don't have a real estate license yet, we offer real estate scholarships so you can get one for free. Check it out at realestatescholarshipprogram.com or visit the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line at tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Get more out of your real estate career, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole. All right. Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Tymon. She's Stacey Mitchell. We've got Gabe behind the camera, and we all work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018, and we're streaming live every week on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Just look up Tom Toole Sales Group. So it's Realtor Safety Month, ladies. Sarah was doing some sort of shoulder shake or something. That must be the funky music we play. So it's Realtor Safety Month. I think this is an interesting topic because in fact, I'm clear the public doesn't realize that there's a little more danger at work for real estate agents than people think. According to the U.S. Department of Labor Bureau and the U.S. Department of Labor's Bureau of Labor Statistics, 48 real estate professionals died in 2017 on the job.
Wow.
It's a higher number than I would have thought. And there's constantly like attacks on realtors, and we're kind of out there. I mean, people can pretty much find out where you are. Mm-hmm. They can get your cell phone number in the majority of cases. They know where you work every day. So,
and this is like unrelated to like the type of, 48 deaths, I'm sure is talking about like person-on-person attacking or things like that. But if you factor in, like we're in our cars all the time too. Like if you factored in also just like, and I know that's like different, but accidents, like that would really probably make it go up.
I mean, I don't know what the stat was here. I think it just, let me go a little deeper on this. It looked like it was so it does say of those 48, although it's uncertain how many of those incidents resulted from workplace violence versus other type of industries. It's clear people who sell real estate are at greater risk than a school teacher or a retail clerk. So, and then according to a 2018 Inman survey, 9% of agents said they've been attacked or threatened at work, and more than 5% said they had to use a gun to defend themselves.
Oh my God!
And
5%.
5%.
Wow.
And then more than 5% relied on a cell phone application to stay safe. So, and then according to this 2018 member survey, 33% of the NAR, National Association of Realtors, said they feared for their personal safety or safety of their personal data, which are two very different things, at some point this year. And it was 41% for women in the survey. So, there's something people don't talk about enough, and there's some article about what to do to be safe and this other stuff here. I'd love to get your perspective, because I know I felt unsafe in a couple situations, which I'm happy to detail. But what about you two? Because I am clear women are more of a target. I don't think there's any question here. Have you ever felt unsafe, or even felt like someone was kind of fishing for like did you ever feel like there was an awkward conversation with a prospect? Because we're talking to a lot of people, we're going to vacant houses. This is stuff we need to be mindful of, for sure.
I mean, honestly, I would say the most unsafe I ever felt wasn't because of a person, but was because of the condition of the home. Going down into the basement with, it was a home that had been neglected for a very long time, and honestly feeling like the steps might like collapse underneath me, is probably the most like physically unsafe that I ever felt. But I don't know, Stace, what do you think?
I just had an experience. I didn't feel unsafe, but it just came to my attention that maybe I should be doing more to just put myself in a better position. It was, we take Zillow calls a lot of times.
Yeah.
It's a last minute showing.
Yeah.
And it happened to be in the fall and winter when, daylight leaves us early. So I think we set up a showing for like 6:30 p.m. And when I pulled up, I realized that it was just a one person that was in the car. So, and then it just struck me, oh, okay, it's one person. Typically you work with, husband and wife team or a couple of people come. So it just struck me like, I have to just pay more attention to this and be more aware.
Yeah.
So, and that's what really brought to my attention, like, okay, what do I have? Do I have my pepper spray?
Right.
What kind of tools do we have at our disposal? But honestly, I keep such a tight calendar, and I put every single appointment on my calendar with an address. It's very easy to do in Google Calendars. You can put the address. So every single showing that I have, every location is in my calendar.
Yeah.
And, we do have a code for one of our Slack channels that we can utilize too. So if there was anything that happened, I know what I could do, and people could find me at the location on my calendar.
When I feel like there's also, and I think you're good about this, like just being aware of like situations and kind of like where to place yourself in rooms, or like, just as and I feel like we've talked about this before, where not even always as I feel like unsafe right now, or this situation seems weird, just like that's how you do things, like you stand a certain way, or just the way that you position yourself, you know what I mean? And I think there's like little things like that you can do just to make you feel a little bit more comfortable that you're not like stuck in the room, But
I had a situation, I think it was last weekend. I was at a showing. I came early to a showing at a home. It was at the end of a cul-de-sac, and the house sat up on a hill. So I walked up to the door. I got there. I figured I'd open the door and turn on some lights as I normally do. And the door was half open. The key was in the door. Now, mind you, there was no cars in the driveway. There was no other car in the cul-de-sac, and I parked in the cul-de-sac. So I'm like, okay, this is weird. But I yelled in. I didn't go in, but I said hello, and nobody answered. So I just walked back down to my car, and that's what I did. I got my pepper spray, and I waited. I waited for the folks to arrive, and they did. And I told them, that, look, this is kind of strange. The door was propped open. The key was in the door. I don't know what's going on, but I was waiting for you. Let's take a walk up. No one was in there.
Yeah.
An agent probably failed to lock up the property, unfortunately. But it was, again, a strange situation. Yeah. You just don't want to jump into the house and find out what's behind the door.
Right.
So I've been in, it sounds like, worse situations than either of you.
Let's
so, I
hear
mean, I've walked into listing appointments after dark. It's clear the seller was using drugs before I showed up. And like not like something that's legal in other states. Like it was some hardcore stuff. So I literally walked in and said, we're going to meet on the porch. And I walked right out, and it was a past client across the street that referred me to him. So I texted the guy and said, hey, can you come over here and help me out? Because I was just a little nervous about what was going to happen.
Yeah.
In addition to that, there was a apartment building that I sold. It was like a multi-unit, and there were the bank ended up owning it. So it was Wachovia. That's how long ago this was, because it was Wachovia, not like some other bank. And they went to go clear out the property. I went with them, and there was people passed out from using, and we thought they were dead walking into the house. So that was pretty alarming. And I've had people show up drunk for showings before. There's like a seller there that clearly has been drinking, and I just, it makes you nervous when you sit there, and I'm just like, get me the heck out of this place. No commission check is worth my life. Like, you don't know what these people are going to do, and some of these people are physically bigger than you. Like, I'm not a large person. I'm probably normal height, I guess, maybe a little short. So I'm just thinking, like, what happens if this goes sideways? So, you don't think about this stuff until it actually happens, and that never crossed my mind, which is why I'm glad this is a topic here. So I'm also grateful you guys haven't been in this position on many levels. So
Me too.
they gave us some in this PAR just listed article, and I think this is kind of basic. One thing you mentioned: share your schedule with other people, and leave the name and phone number of the client you're meeting with somewhere. So luckily we can track all this down with like Boomtown and those sort of things because we have it in the CRM. So I think that helps a lot, just having like the way to track things. We have a code. This one was interesting. Make sure your cell phone's charged.
Yeah, that's a good one because I notoriously run on low.
Yeah.
So
I'm
that
at
is really a
11%
good
right
one.
now.
Ooh.
Now, the obvious thing is meet your new clients in a neutral location first, whether it's your office or like a coffee shop. I think that's easier said than done.
I feel like that's a little bit unrealistic. Like,
I'm agreeing with you.
yeah.
Do you ever take people in your car?
No, never.
I did it like
no.
once when I was 22 because that's what people did then, and I would just tell people I had another appointment afterwards because first of all I didn't want to drive these people around, but like you don't know these people that
Right.
well. I mean,
Right.
and then sometimes what happens is they sell later and you find everything comes out and there's like some sort of like, I mean, I've had homes unfortunately where I've sold and there was like domestic abuse that happened in the relationship. And meanwhile, you're walking around showing these people houses and it's like,
Wow.
oh,
Yeah.
geez, I didn't,
Right.
and you don't know. So that's a good thing. I'm glad to hear you don't take people in your car either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like a very just honest and answer for driving people around is you do need extra insurance coverage for that, which
Great point.
I don't have. So
That's
like,
good. And I think COVID really helped change that too.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One positive thing from COVID.
Yeah.
Don't drive around in people's cars.
So you mentioned you carry pepper spray.
I do. Yeah.
What else? Do you carry anything else?
I do. I carry, it's like a stick, for lack of a better word, but it's bigger and heavier than a stick. I also have, you're probably going to think I'm nuts, but I have a 4D battery flashlight,
Okay.
which could also be.
Oh, okay.
And you always need a flashlight.
Yeah.
if you
I
go
agree
down
with
to
the
trail,
flashlight,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a 4D, so it's long and it's heavy.
Yeah.
So that's a good protector. And I bought a taser gun. So
Now, we had a presentation about this at
Yes.
our office where the gentleman came in and gave us a whole safety thing. And he basically
Yeah.
said, like, the first thing you want to do is get out of the house if there's an incident. Like, I mean,
Right.
I think you were on maternity leave when this happened, but
yeah.
what were the other takeaways you had from that? Because he was pretty serious. Like, I was a
He
little
was
like,
serious, yeah. Well, he said if you're going to engage in a fight, there's only one person that comes out.
yeah.
That's it. Like,
Yeah.
so if you're going to engage, it's going to be you
Yep.
or them.
Yeah.
Which was, I never thought of it like
Yeah,
that.
it's pretty
And
eye-opening.
I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. That's
Yeah.
true. So, if you run, get out of the house, try to run. He didn't really like pepper spray because he said it could overtake you. But I love pepper spray because I take it out every time I run too.
Mhm.
But and he said if you're not willing to carry a real gun and live with the consequences of using it to protect yourself, then the taser gun was awesome.
Yeah.
So that's why I got a taser gun.
He also said don't lock the door when you go into the house, which I thought was
Yes.
pretty important because, I mean,
Yes.
sometimes you got to use a key to unlock these things. So
Yep.
now the flip side is depends what neighborhood you're showing homes in. So I
Yeah.
think it goes both ways there. So be mindful. It's Realtor Safety Month. Just realize what you're doing. Be smart, I think, is the message here. I appreciate all the shares that you guys had. That's it for this week's episode. If you want to follow Stacey, you can follow her on Instagram. It's at @2 Mitchco. You can follow Sarah at Ty with a Y _Ty Time. You can follow me at Tom Toole 3RD at Tom Toole 3rd. We're streaming live every week. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Just look up Tom Toole Sales Group. And we'll be back next week on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.